Today we're going to do a quick guide to earning badges in our 5th period academic enrichment class, what that means, what we'll be doing the rest of the school year, and I'll try to make it really fast. First thing you need to know is that this guide is specific to students working in the group with Mr. Collins, but the math and science plus FBS groups will be running on the same general idea. Things may look a little bit differently, but in general it's the same goal. So the first thing we need to know as we discuss badges is how do we get to the lists of them? You're going to go down to Google Classroom, you'll scroll down the classwork tab, and you'll go to the tab for your class group. In this case, we're going to pick the badge list for language arts, and that's going to open up a new page that you'll be able to access and look at. Now, typically in your 5th period academic enrichment class, you'll have 2 to 3 days a week where you have dedicated in-class time to work on earning these different badges. And ultimately, the badges are just different goals, different projects, and different things that you can do within the class that I believe will help you get better at your subject area. So let's look. First, you have the badge itself on the left-hand column. In the middle, you'll have a description for the badge, which will basically say what you are trying to do to get it. So for this one, for example, it says, read a Newbery Medal winning novel from the list below. Take the corresponding AR test and present the score for credit. More recent medal winning novels are mentioned more frequently and should be a priority. So there's a link attached below. You'll find a link on many of the badge descriptions that'll help you a little bit more with what you need to do. It might have something you need to print off, or it might have directions, it might take you to an outside website. Once you've read the description, you look over on the far right-hand column and you'll see a little thing that says stars. We'll talk about the stars in just a second, but more or less it's just an indicator of the difficulty or how long it might take you to complete. Now in this case, specifically for Newbery Medal winning books, 2 stars may not seem like a lot for reading a whole book, but that's something that you might do as part of your regular language arts class as it is, so it's been lowered just a little bit. Now each class will have a list sort of like this. You may have different lists, but for my class we have one for each of the different subject areas. Now let's look at stars a little bit more, just so you're not confused. Stars are an indicator of the difficulty or commitment required to achieve a badge. Stars are really only there for fun, they have no bearing on the grade you'll achieve for weekly work, and are really only an indicator of how much work you've put into a subject area. Your teacher may not have occasional rewards or perks for earning a certain amount, and it's not always an accurate way to judge student progress. One student may only have a few stars, but may be working on something large at home in their spare time. That's going to earn them 3 or 4 stars at once, and then they'll suddenly have several more. So it's not really an indicator of who's working the hardest in the class either. It's just something personal that you can use to kind of judge how you are doing. Let's dig even deeper. So for badges that are 1 star, they're probably able to be completed in a week, usually with materials that you have access to at school. 2-star badges may be able to be completed in a week, but they may require a little bit more time and effort, such as, for example, the ones we saw earlier that were reading a book. That's definitely not going to be done in most students in a week, but some of our really high-level readers may be able to finish it in 2 or 3, and they're doing it for part of a regular class. These badges are usually able to be done with materials available at school. Now, 3-star badges require significantly more time and commitment to complete. They may be something that requires work at home or going somewhere outside of school. Generally, you're not going to be working on these on a day-to-day basis too often. It might be something that you do a little bit on your own at home every once in a while, and that brings us to the 4-star badges. They almost always require a significant time investment. Typically, you want to be working on these in the background, as in you're working on a 1 or 2-star rated badge, during your weekly time in class, but over the course of maybe a few months, you've got a 4-star one that you're working on to complete. Lastly, the 5-star ones, I'm not sure if there are even any 5-star ones listed right now, but they're sort of like milestones. They're mostly awarded for completing something unique to you. Maybe you're the first to do something in the class, or you win some kind of big competition, or you have something published, just something really cool that's unique. And in that case, you're probably going to get a very specific badge that just you have. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to look at is the list. Each teacher will have some way to monitor your progress via a chart or will record your progress separately. So the way this works is basically if you go back to Google Classroom and go to the top on your class list, you'll probably see the chart. You'll click it, you'll open it up, and there'll be some way that you can monitor what badges you've completed, your progress so far. Your teacher may keep this to themselves, but you should be able to ask them and they can tell you what you've completed and how many stars you've got, something like that. Now, for my class, each one of my students will have an individual page. You can just scroll through a Google Slides presentation and go to yours and see what it is. It'll have the student name at the top next to where it says badges, where it says student A on this, and that's how you'll keep track of that. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is that you will sort of be graded for the badge system. Every Friday in class, most Fridays anyway, we'll have some kind of check. So Friday in class, Mr. Collins might sit down at his desk and ask students to come up one at a time and show him what you've been working on this week. So one student might come up and show me that they've completed an AR test on a Newbery Medal winning book. I would give them the badge on their document and they'd be done for the week. And I would give them a grade to say that they have measurable progress on the badge chart. Now, other students may be working on something that requires 2 or 3 weeks to complete, and that's completely fine too. Those students will pick up a piece of paper that will ask them what they're working on, what they've been doing to complete that, and maybe to turn in something that shows their progress on it so far. Something really simple. Now, most of the time students can turn these in, week after week if they need to, but after a certain amount of time, I'd really like to see a student earning badges. So you don't want to be spending an entire 9 weeks just turning in, progress charts saying that you've been working on something for week after week after week. I need to be able to see some sort of measurable progress on badges. That you've completed things, that you're learning new things in this class, and that really needs to happen over time. And if it doesn't, then we might have to have a more serious discussion. Now, a few other things. Let's talk about why the badges are there, why we're doing this. Teacher-created badges were placed with a variety of goals in mind with several sources used. Badges are in place to prepare you for competitions like the academic team. So a whole lot of the badges that are there are based off of a chart on the KAAC website that lists the different middle grades content areas and what you need to know to be able to do awesome on the academic team tests. If you want to scroll through that sometime, you definitely should. A whole lot of these badges are based on that. If you earn a whole lot in your subject area, you will do really good at the academic team. Badges are in place to provide accelerated or gifted content for you in your subject area, such as high school level work for an 8th grader or 8th grade level work for a 6th grader. Sometimes on a day-to-day basis, we don't get to do a lot of high-level stuff. You may be slightly bored by what you're working on in class at the time. Well, hopefully this class will be an outlet for you to do something at a higher level so you can really challenge yourself. Badges are in place to provide fun and out-of-the-box activities you normally wouldn't have a time and place to work on at school. We don't just do our learning at school. You learn by doing things at home, by doing things on your own, by doing fun things that you actually like to do, or by going places and visiting. Hopefully some of these things can translate to being rewarded for a little bit in class. And badges are in place to reward you for going above and beyond in something you might complete in your other daily classes, such as reading a lot more than you have to. I have a lot of students in my language arts classes that go absolutely wild on accelerated reader. They may have a goal of 30 points and they end the 9 weeks with 150 points. Now, while we don't have any accelerated reader specific badges on there yet, that's probably something I will add, but maybe you really like vocabulary.com, and so you spend a whole lot more time on that than you normally would in class and you earn a whole bunch of points. That's definitely worth being acknowledged. Most of what these badges are just acknowledging that you did something awesome that maybe other students didn't have to do. Now, before we close, I'd like to mention a few things that I'd like to add to our badge lists. I'd like to add a whole lot more badges as the year goes on. Typically, for most of the classes that I've put, there's somewhere between 40 and 50 that you could start work on now. But as students go from 6th to 8th grade, I know that they will move through them pretty quickly if we keep doing this in future school years. So I'd like to continue to add things that you want. First off, I want more activities that cannot be completed at school, such as badges that might reward you for documenting info about a place you go to. Lots of you like history, so maybe you go somewhere historical and you take pictures and you bring those pictures back and you make a presentation on it. That sounds pretty awesome to me. I feel like that should be rewarded or acknowledged. I'd like to have more badges for activities that require you to go above and beyond another one of your teacher's expectations. I mentioned the accelerated reader thing earlier. That's definitely something that I should add. I would love to have more examples. Your teachers have really, really high expectations for you at Spencer County Middle School, but those teachers are not always able to reward you or at least acknowledge what you've done. I'd like us to be able to do that sometimes in our class. And we have more badges for ideas that you come up with and submit. Right now I have a few of these, things that students have turned in and said would be a good idea. Of course, it needs to fit within the content and actually be educational in some way, but please let your teacher know if you have any ideas. Because we have a million different things going on, when you let us know what those ideas are, please write a note so that I can keep track or so that your teacher can keep track. Now, we will start on this list more than likely this week. You may start a little bit later on in the class, but I hope that through it you find some sort of activity that you find interesting and worthwhile. Have an excellent day.